Today we're going to look at a product by Shining3D. We're looking at the Einscan Pro Plus. This is a 3D scanner that uses structured light for 3D scanning. What that means is it's going to project a fixed pattern, and then using its stereoscopic cameras it's going to generate a point cloud that we can use for reverse engineering purposes. Here is a spec sheet taken from the Einscan website. It gives you a sense of the accuracy and speed of the Einscan Pro Plus and the various scan modes that you have available. It is important to note that the Einscan Pro Plus was released in late 2017, and here we are in late 2021, so this hardware is about 4 years old. In addition to the Einscan Pro Plus, we will be testing the optional HD pack. The HD pack is an external camera that is attached to the scanner unit and gives us almost 30% additional scanning speed by using infrared light to help align with features on the surface of your target. This first example is reverse engineering a plastic housing using the Pro Plus HD scan handheld mode. The reflective targets always help on smooth surfaces, but the HD scanning pack really helps with the additional speed when you're scanning parts this large. And once we start scanning, you can see the active lines start appearing in the view screen. And then once you turn on, then it'll start capturing the points in real time. Occasionally it'll get lost, and so you sort of zoom out and zoom back in, and then you just slowly work your way around the part continuously while trying to keep targets in sight, and then you eventually build a full point cloud of your target. Advantage in most of the reverse engineering cases is most parts tend to be symmetric, and so really you're only shooting to get coverage of a full half of something this large, because you can reverse engineer it and then just apply symmetry in your software. It is worth it to note that using 3D scanning software like this is not turnkey. It's going to be very technical work. Typically your 3D scan is your starting point. You'll get a point cloud or a mesh, and then you'll import it into software of your choice like Creo or Solid Edge or SolidWorks, and begin using 3D scan as the foundation for your reverse engineering. So you will have to apply CAD skills to turn it into a CAD model that you could use for remanufacturing, as is in this case. So keep that in mind, that the scan is really your starting point, and then you can use it to trace and recreate your 3D model with a high degree of precision and accuracy. Here you can see an example of the structured light. It's doing a flash and it's doing a grid, and you can this is what's going on while the point cloud is being generated. You have to make sure that the projected pattern is within focus and within range, and the lighting quality is adequate for the cameras to pick up the projected pattern. What's really advantageous in this case is the matte nature of the plastic makes it very easy for the camera to pick up the surface. The camera's real single failing is its issue with shiny surfaces. We'll see that in a little bit, but shiny black surfaces are really difficult for the camera to pick up. So be aware whenever you're deciding what to scan, that shiny and dark colors really don't work really well. But there is a real easy way around it, which we'll see in just a little bit. While you're scanning it here, you can see all the green and red dots. Those are the tracking dots. And if you have enough geometry, then you really don't need it. That's really the big advantage of the HD pack, is that it picks up the complex geometry. But if you have the space for the reflective dots, it's always a great way to add that added level of accuracy, because it's easier for the camera to pick up those dots and reacquire where it is in space. While watching the scan, one thing to consider is the fact that, as I said earlier, that this is hardware that was made in 2017, and it's almost 4 years old, and technology moves pretty quickly. And Shining3D is keeping up with that, so their newer lines of scanners have better sensors, better processors, better optics, just all around better overall. So they're much faster, cover wider areas, more accurate than what you're seeing here in the Pro Plus. The Pro Plus, despite its age, does a pretty decent job when you are patient with it. Just remember that the newer hardware that's available now is much faster, more accurate, and just better overall. The software, they're still improving it constantly. So my hat's off to the folks at Shining3D for continuing to develop their software. And here you see the points for our housing and the green dots. And this is, like I said before, that since this is symmetric, we only need to make sure that we have enough for half, which is, you can see it's more than adequate for what we have right here. But it's very accurate. And this is what it looks like after it's been meshed. This is in a closed mesh. Whenever you run through the meshing software, it'll give you the option for a watertight model or just an open model. And so I'll always get the open model, because then you can bring it into your software and then start extracting geometric information to start reverse engineering. And so this is what it looks like after it's been significantly sliced and diced in your CAD software and turned into a model that will be usable for manufacturing purposes. This next example really highlights the power of the Pro Plus and the HD pack. We have a model car 1/16 scale with really fine contours and subtle shaping, and we need to bring that in so we can start manipulating it in software. As you can see, the biggest problem that we have here is the shiny black surface. Now, ordinarily, I would spray paint this with some gray paint or some 3D print spray, but since this isn't mine, I came up with an alternate solution. And what that is you just cover it in masking tape, and the masking tape is matte enough for the 3D scanner to easily pick up, thin enough for you to ignore, and still pick up the fine contours of the vehicle body, as you can see here. It is important to note that I am using the handheld mode, where the Prime Pack really shines, even though I've got this turntable that I've rigged up myself. There is a dedicated turntable that Shining3D offers for extra precision of small parts, but that is separate from what we're seeing right here. This is the handheld mode, and then this is just some commercially available turntable that helps me move the part rather than moving around. And just as easily you could have kept the stationary and moved around. Here you can see how easily that masking tape shows up on your 3D scan. It pretty much pops up instantly. It's both light and it is fairly matte finish, so the 3D, the stereoscopic cameras have a real easy time picking up that, and the contours, as you'll see in just a second, are just as visible. So in this approach, the masking tape does add a tiny bit of thickness, but for the overall shape that we're trying to capture, it's negligible, and we're still more interested in the shaping details that show up. So the masking tape might not work in every situation, but for this situation right here, I was reluctant to subject such a nice model to paint, so that's why I elected to go with the masking tape. This is what the result of the 3D scan we just performed looked like. And as you can see, there's no shortage of details. You can actually see where the masking tape overlaps each other. So that's the level of detail you can get. Like I said before, it's a symmetric model, so basically we only need half of it. And the detail that it's capturing, the major contour lines, the lines in the hood, the roof line, and the character line of the vehicle, these are the major details that I was looking for, and it captured it more than adequately. If we really needed the full detail model, then 3D printing spray, you can search for that on the internet. That's pretty readily available. That's a temporary powder-like spray that lets that you can put on shiny surfaces specifically for 3D scanning. Here's what the 3D scan looks like when you export the point cloud and bring it in other CAD software. Again, you can see all the major detail that you're looking for, all the profile, the character lines, the contours, and where it changes and things like that. Everything that you need is there, but you do have to pay attention to the color and stuff like that around here. So in our case, the wheels were too shiny, and they didn't show up in the 3D scans. So if that was necessary, then that too would have had to be covered with masking tape, or for fine detail, there wouldn't be a way around it. You'd have to use the 3D printing spray. But for my specific application, the masking tape worked great, and I highly recommend it. This next project was an experiment with the 3D scanner and attempting to replace an existing faceplate on the Iron Man helmet with one of my own design. This test used the fixed scan mode, and what that means is that the scanner is stationary and it takes a series of pictures, and then you move it and then do this several times, and then the software automatically takes these multiple scans and overlays them on top of each other. So it's a series of scans taken from different angles while the scanner sits on a tripod. And what you see right here is the result of several scans that were automatically aligned and overlaid. And again, it's a symmetric object, so we only need half to be able to import. And it works really well. The gold surface could have been better. It was a little problematic. So this file was exported to a point cloud or mesh, imported into CAD software, and reverse engineered to produce the image that you see. And then I went through a 3D printing process to duplicate it. And once I got it done, I managed to actually get it to fit into the existing helmets. So the accuracy and the precision is there. It does take some work to turn a 3D scan into something useful, especially for reverse engineering. So these three projects were just a few examples of how powerful the Pro Plus is, and the additional power that the HD pack provides. And this again all is taking into account the fact that the hardware is 4 years old, and what Shining3D is putting out right now is leaps and bounds ahead of what you saw here today. So even though the Pro Plus is still a respectable piece of hardware, the current offerings from Shining3D are definitely faster and easier to use than what you saw here today.